Thanks, Carla. We're also given 3 minutes to Fianna Fáil as well, so we'll take about six each. Yeah. So basically, just to put on record first that we are supporting the motion. The motion calls on the government to immediately collect information on the prevalence of children experiencing homelessness who do not have additional supports provided by the Department of Education. It's also calling for the establishment of a €5 million initial ring-fence fund for schools to provide for the needs of children experiencing homelessness. I should have said at the start as well that we thank Deputy Byrne, and I think probably Deputy O'Loughlin as well has had a lot of input into this, particularly as Chair of the Education Committee. Another part is obviously calling for the July education programme could be extended to children who have experienced significant disruption to their education as a result of homelessness. And just to say, I suppose, as I like to do at every opportunity I can get, July provision should also be I suppose extended to, it currently is just children with autism, so it was extended to all children with additional needs. And then we do agree with the point that's being made in the motion as well in relation to children who are experiencing homelessness, because it just gives them, I suppose, some pattern and regularity in their life. And a lot of children in emergency accommodation will say that school is the one sort of consistent thing that they can kind of rely on, for want of better words. We agree with the motion that it's outrageous there's no government policy to cater for the educational needs of children who are homeless or living in emergency accommodation, and the needs of these children are mentioned neither in the Action Plan for Education or the Department of Education and Skills Statement of Strategy 2019 to 2021. We also agree on the points in the motion that many children experiencing homelessness do not attend DEIS schools and do not have access to the same level of supports that students in DEIS schools would be provided with. The Department of Education has stated in response to criticism of inaction on impacts of homelessness on children's education that a range of resources are available to support schools in dealing with identified additional educational needs, including needs which may arise for children who are experiencing homelessness, and that this includes the National Education Psychology Service, who work through a problem-solving and solution-oriented consultative approach to support schools to meet the needs of individual pupils. Also, DES also provides additional supports to schools from disadvantaged communities. Schools use these additional resources to meet the identified needs of their pupil cohort, including the additional needs that may arise for pupils experiencing homelessness. However, this is just not good enough. We all know the reality of hardship, struggles and challenges that children are currently facing, and the government have no coordinated strategy to tackle this. Meanwhile, every day that passes, a child's quality of education is being impacted. Children living in temporary accommodation are having to travel huge distances just to arrive to class. The impact that this has on the child, particularly small children, and particularly if this is for a long period of time, they're exhausted before the day even starts, and we are damaging children's futures by taking away their chances at a decent education. We know there's almost 4,000 children and young people in Ireland who are homeless and living in emergency accommodation. Neither the Department of Education nor the State Examination Commission will know how many of these children who are homeless are undertaking state exams this summer, because candidates for state examinations are in the main entered for the junior cycle, and leaving certificate examinations by the school and the SEC has no information as to the residential status of examination candidates. So no one is formally tracking these children, and there is no specialised policy on their education needs in school. Despite the provisions the Department of Education says it has in place, many teachers still feel under pressure and ill-equipped to support homeless students. The overwhelming majority of homeless families and children are either living in family hubs or rooms, in hotels, B&Bs. In many cases, these hotels have no cooking or cleaning facilities. I would say that's probably in the majority of cases, actually, and obviously have no suitable areas to study. Transportation, again, is a major issue, and particularly in rural areas, because for example, in Kilkenny, we have one main hotel that deal with emergency accommodation, and obviously it's in Kilkenny City, and if you don't live in the city, this is going to have a big impact on you. A lot of people can't maybe even access that, or it has an impact on whether children can attend school at all. So there's lots of issues that we really need to tackle. Some of the hubs have study rooms or places which are suitable, but not all of them do, and none of the commercial hotels obviously won't have these facilities. So students who are homeless might face ending up with significantly lower exam results than usual as a result of their accommodation situation. A survey carried out by the Irish Primary Principals Network stated that the top 3 challenges for children who are either homeless or living in direct provision are anxiety, family issues and neglect. Homeless students face issues ranging from a lack of confidence, bullying, being singled out and losing friends as a result of their circumstances. These issues would coincide with the stress students are under when it comes to exam preparations. Aside from providing teachers with better resources and wraparound support to assist homeless students, it seems a vital aspect of helping those who are undertaking exams is providing them with suitable study spaces and accommodation. Over the past 2 years, the government has begun to move away from hotel accommodation towards the family hub model. However, we can't normalise homelessness through the use of these hubs. We only need to look at direct provision and how that temporary solution has evolved. Schools must be able to draw on additional financial supports to provide for the needs of students experiencing homelessness, such as school books, uniforms, transport, and schools must be able to provide meals, homework clubs, supervised study for these students. So I just wanted to make the point as well, because I think you touched on it, Minister, about the school completion programme, which is just one of the best programmes I think that we have, but it obviously needs to be expanded and it needs to be resourced better, because they've had their budgets cut during the recessionary years and they've never had that restored, and the work that they do for the small money that they actually get is incredible. And I think that rather than cutting back on that programme, we really need to be expanding that. And I always think as well there's an argument for that programme going back into the Department of Education rather than being under the Department of Children and Youth Affairs. And just, I suppose, to make the point as well that why we support this, and it's very important, we don't want a situation where we are normalising homelessness. Obviously, the crucial solution to all of this is to provide people with homes and long-term housing solutions and rent security and, you know, building more local authority housing, providing more options for people who are first-time buyers. So just to make that point as well, that we obviously need supports for people, particularly students who are in the homeless situation, but we don't want to get into a situation where we're already talking about it as if it's a normal phenomenon. But just to say again that we do support it. Thanks, Ceann Comhairle.